Okay. Is the recorder on? Okay. Welcome back to Hardwired, breaking the misconceptions on gender identity and sexuality. It's Ein here. Look, today, honestly, I want to skip the textbook stuff. We need to talk about the things we actually discuss often.
Haha, you mean like the fights we heard in the hallway last night?
Exactly. Like, we have these traditions, right? Family, roles, and rules. They feel safe. They feel like order. And when people question them, it doesn't just feel like a debate. It kind of feels like chaos. But then, real people are actually getting hurt. So we need to talk about that tension without the filters.
Okay, can I just start now? Because everyone talks about misconception, like it's this abstract academic kind of things. But okay, take my friends from high school friends, for example, John. Everyone kept asking him, why don't you just say it? Just come out already. Like it was just a matter of confidence.
Yeah, people think it's just like ripping off a band-aid. Once you do it, you're free.
Right, but that's not how it actually works. It was reading this a sociologist, Jason Orne, and he talks about strategic outness. Basically, the closet isn't a room you live once and never go back to. It's something you have to manage constantly.
Strategic outness?
Yeah, like John, he lived with his grandma who literally thinks tradition is everything. So him staying quit wasn't denying his identity. It was a strategy. He was managing his safety in that specific environment. But people here, in this progressive bubble, looked down on him, like he was failing at being gay.
Hmm, that makes sense. We judge them for not being out, but Orne suggests they're just navigating a minefield we can't see. This constant management, that cultural burden of revealing one's minority identity, is felt deeply across cultures. We were lucky enough to speak to Kumge Hejigum, an author and creative producer in Korea.
Yes, I asked her about what it was like to be minority and how she used comedy as a survival strategy.
Let's listen.
You've spoken about using comedy as a survival strategy. Can you explain how it's connected to the cultural burden of reliving one's minority identity?
I felt a lot of self consciousness and vulnerability about putting my queer story at the forefront. Comedy was a way to treat my identity as no big deal through jokes. It was a strategy to satisfy a desire for social acceptance and integration, showing the tension of being a minority here.
That tension sounds exhausting. What's one practical things that a ally or supportive friends can actually do?
Honestly, I emphasize that a person must have basic decency, sagaji in Korean, in all relationships. The best support is when people stop forcing unwanted conversations and boundary crossing behavior. A true ally is someone who treats a queer person's life as no big deal, not sensationalizing it.
Not sensationalizing it. That's a powerful idea. Sounds like she's looking for a way to create a psychologically safe zone within our communal culture.
Wait, hold on. Can I pause you there?
Go ahead, Taylor.
So you're making it sound like tradition or society is just like a villain holding people back. But look, I grew up in a place where those rules worked. They kept families together. When you say environment matters, I hear you saying that my environment, the way I was raised, is the problem.
Like
But
Emily?
it is, isn't it? And honestly, that scares people. It scares me. And let's be real. When I see people claiming their gender fluidly changes, it feels made up, like a deviation from nature.
Tara, that's a choice myth again.
Is it a myth or is it a biology?
It is biology, but not in a way you think. Look at Roselli's research on neurobiology from 2017. He suggests evidence showing that gender identity and sexual orientation are linked to prenatal hormones and brain structure.
Brain structure?
Yes, it's hardwired before you're even born. It's not a deviation or a preference someone picks off a menu. So when you say it feels made up, you're ignoring the biological reality that Rosalie and others have found. These variables, identity or orientations, They're a fundamental parts of us.
Okay, fine. So I'll look into the brain stuff. But let's get to the real issue. Biology requires a mom and a dad to make a child. Doesn't it follow that a child needs both to grow up right? You can't just replace a mother.
That's an intuition, Taehun. It's not data.
It's common sense.
Common sense used to say the Earth was flat. The APA actually released the resolution on this in 2020. They explicitly distinguish between family structure and family process.
So process versus structure?
Exactly. The research shows that a child's success depends on the process, stability, emotional support, and low conflict. It does not depend on the structure, thus, the gender of the parents. A loving home is a loving home. The brain needs attachment, not a specific gender role.
I don't know, son. It feels like we're just cherry picking to make ourselves feel better. Because if everything is so fine, why are the suicide rates so high?
What?
Depression, suicide attempts in the LGBTQ community is massive. Doesn't that suggest that maybe living that way is inherently stressful? That deep down is conflicting with biological things.
So, you think the high suicide rate is because of who they are? Taehun, that's literally what Ellen Meyers refuted with the minority stress model.
Minority stress?
Meyer's research showed that these high rates of anxiety and depression aren't intrinsic to LGBTQ identity. They are a result of chronic and daily social stress, stigma, discrimination. Imagine how Muslim people who make up only 0.3 to 0.4% of whole population would feel in Korean society. The illness isn't a person, Taehun. It's environment forcing them to hide.
I'm asking if it's a symptom of internal conflict.
Yes?
It's not internal. I had a teacher in the 11th grade, Mr. Park.
Oh, so?
Mr. Park mocked a non-binary student every day, encouraged the class to laugh. The kids tried to kill their own life, not because they were confused, but because the world told them they were a mistake.
Oh, that's extreme.
Is it? The CDC data shows that LGBT youngs are 5 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers. 5 times.
then Thai?
Yes, but here's the part that proves Saeun right. A study in JAMA Pediatrics shows that when these kids had high social support, the risk of suicide attempt drops from 41% down to 22%,
So it drops by half?
just by having good support. This proves it's not the identity that's killing them, it is the rejection of it. That's not biology, Taehun, that's us, people. Society is holding the gun.
I didn't know the number were that stark. The drop from 41% to 22%, hard to ignore. Look, I still believe in the family structure I grew up with. It's so hard to just let go. But hearing about Meyer's stress model and seeing the German data, I can see that maybe the instability I was afraid of is actually being caused by the pressure we put on people.
That's a heavy realization.
Yeah, it is. I'm not saying I agree with everything Saeun said about Roselli and biology yet. It still feels very slippery to me. But if my beliefs are part of that minority stress, if I'm part of the reason that number is 41%,
Then what?
then I need to figure out how to value my traditions without using them as a weapon. That's why the interview with Geumge and what she said about basic courtesy and respect is sticking with me. So here's my proposal for a solution. A simple behavioral agreement we can simply call the appropriate distance protocol.
The appropriate distance protocol?
Yes, it's based on her idea of not crossing boundaries. The true rules would be 1. We all agree to stop boundary crossing behavior, no pressure, no uncomfortable question about someone's partner or their private life when they express discomfort. And 2, we commit to treating their life as no big deal and sensationalizing their identity, which is her definition of true support. This isn't about changing my deep-seated beliefs, but it is about ethical responsibility. It's a way to maintain coherence in our society by respecting the personal integrity of others.
Truly reflective answer, Taehun. It uses courtesy, a traditional value, to combat against the minority stress. Not pressuring someone to come out, not asking uncomfortable questions about their personal life, and treating them as equals instead of putting them in the spotlight seems like the answer. People like John, Jimin's high school friend, would feel more welcomed and comfortable to live as who he truly is in our society. That's all we can ask for. Anyways, thanks for being real today, everyone. This was Hardwired, breaking the misconceptions on gender identity and sexuality. We'll see you next time with another interesting topic, breaking the misconceptions on the Islamic culture. Bye!